whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
On the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube, starting at noon Pacific or anytime you like it, because that's the beauty of YouTube. A great show ahead. We will, of course, touch on that California storm, power outages. I would assume, unless you're watching on your phone, all of you have power, I hope. Crazy story about one of my friends that's going through it right now. I have some interesting video, trees, power poles falling left and right. Also, if you're gonna kayak, maybe during this storm is not the best time, especially as the rivers are just ripping and roaring right now, but a great story. We keep our fingers crossed of a missing kayaker. Now we're gonna go to UC Davis. Apparently there was some violence that erupted as far-right conservative host Charlie Kirk went to speak there. There was an op-ed written in the SAC-B that Kirk had such an issue with, which there's people that speak of freedom of speech. It's quite interesting. But anyways, we'll get into that. We'll get into the reparations. The Board of Supervisors had some San Francisco lawmakers, including an assembly member, had their meeting. It's the board for the reparations for San Francisco, Black San Francisco, Black San Franciscans. And how much money is on the table possibly might blow your mind. And I'm going to ask you, is it a ridiculous idea, or is it like barely enough? Clark Reid's going to join us later on this hour. We're going to talk some tech news. We'll, of course, talk about Silicon Valley Bank. We'll talk about TikTok. Will it change how you feel about TikTok if it separates from China's ByteDance? So we'll get into that and so much more. Also, in the second part of the show, you'll want to join us. I'm extremely excited because we have Sam. Now, Sam is part of our community. He's a restaurateur in San Francisco, and we're finally bringing him on for a Why Do You Do It segment, which, you know, if you have been watching the show, it's one of my favorite segments. It's where I just bring people on and ask them, why the hell do you do what you do? And is it difficult? And, you know, with COVID and just people's behavior inside restaurants and tipping and all sorts of things, I cannot wait to talk to Sam. He's been a huge fan. Number one Nikki fan, Sam, is what he used to text the text line over at KGO Station X. So I'm excited to talk to him, and I just really want to have a conversation, not just why he does it and how he's been dealing with it, but how do you start a restaurant when, you know, the horror stories that you hear about restaurants going under so quickly. So that's going to happen in the second part of the show. You will not want to miss that. Then, of course, we have some food news to kind of tie it all together. But before we get to any of that, let's first say thank you to our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. AAA tax deal, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve joins us at some point during the show. He gives great advice. So give him a call. Visit his website. He has an amazing team. And again, he is the reason we were able to launch this show. And as things change for the show and we open up sponsorship and advertising opportunities, I will always be grateful to Steve Moskowitz for starting it all off. Click a thumbs up right there at the bottom of your screen. It's the thumbs up. It helps the show get more eyeballs. I don't know how it works. It's above my pay grade, but it does. So please click the thumbs up. The super chat is also live. This is a way in which YouTube allows us to raise money during and even during the replay of the show. If you want to buy a super sticker, a super thanks, a super comment, which we'll read and we'll give shout outs, you could do it there. Just look for the $ underneath the live chat box. And then, of course, we have new subscribers every single day that want to become Adorables by joining our monthly Patreon crew. You could find the way to sign up, the link to our Patreon at thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com is our PayPal and the email address to reach me. And so many of you do reach out, and I try to get back to you guys within a reasonable amount of time. And then, of course, the merchandise, thenikkimedoroshop.com. It was so funny. I was rushing around this morning because I had to take my daughter to the orthodontist. Quick story. She had an orthodontist appointment right before the S hit the fan, and she had to have surgery and all that stuff for her Crohn's. So much so that she was in the middle of an orthodontist appointment, getting her braces, tightened and everything. And they had pulled out the wire and she just couldn't, she was getting sick and she had to run out. It was awful. It was embarrassing. So since January, my daughter has only had brackets on her teeth that are doing nothing. There's no wire. There's nothing attached to it because they took it out and they're like, just go. And then I took her to the hospital and then everything happened, surgery, recuperating and everything. So I was finally able to get her back in and they're like, God, we haven't seen you in forever. And they were just, I love my dentist and orthodontist for the kids. They're just so great. But anyways, I was telling her orthodontist about the show and he's like, write it down. And because I haven't really seen him very much. So hello, Dr. Daniel, if you are watching the show. Okay, so I was seeing somebody in here talking about the storm. Did you guys survive? Oh, Liz, lost power in the middle of your show yesterday. How dare PG&E? My dog was freaked out by the crazy winds. My son was saying how it sounded crazy at school. I could hear it yesterday inside. Walking around, he comes home with the umbrella and he's just like he'd literally been in a tornado. It was nuts. Oh yeah, Mindy, the weather is so much better today. Going out, I didn't even put on I'm wearing a sweater right now, but I didn't need anything else. Did you guys catch this video though? Look at this video. And this is thanks to CBS. Now, I'm going to say this. As a former reporter, I never did television, but God, this is perfect. I mean, that the cameraman and the reporter were like, yes, after this aired, even though it was quite dangerous. So watch this. This is thanks to CBS.
I started to tell him it looks like it's leaning. There it goes. There it goes. Oh, my God. Oh.
Oh, this guy is like.
Anyways. There goes my neighbor's house.
Oh my God.
Anyway, wow.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no one was inside that home. That person we spoke with told us his neighbor will probably need a new place to stay for a while, and he does have some extra rooms for them.
I mean, that's crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. Now, again, you don't want somebody's home destroyed. So I wasn't saying that. But God, if you're going to catch something on camera, that's the thing to catch right there. And then, of course, there's a bunch of power outages. So my friend who lives, it's weird how PG&E lines go. So she is about a mile away from me. Kind of, we're kind of in the same pocket, but obviously on different lines. There's a major thoroughfare that kind of blocks our two neighborhoods. But again, a mile away. She has been without power since noon yesterday. And PG&E says on their website that they're not going to get power back until the 17th. And she texts, our group chat. And she's like, I'm hoping that's a typo. And I went to pgne.com and so did she. And it says, nope, the 17th. And we're just, we're in a major, and I'm not knocking like people that live kind of in the more foresty areas amongst the trees. I just always assume stupidly it's harder to get out there. It's more complicated to bring things back online. 2 days? Anybody else get a timeline like that? Yeah, exactly, Karen. Good old PG&E. It's just no way. Oh, God, Liz, I didn't see it. Did you see the runaway suitcase at SFO? It was funny, but probably not for the owner. Was it a distinctive suitcase? Because that's always the thing, where if it looks like all the other suitcases, you're like, hopefully it's not mine. We have distinctive suitcases. We put stickers, or my daughter's is like really a bright pink. Like we know that that's our suitcase. I can imagine seeing it on TV and being like, geez, Louise, there it goes. Oh yeah, Neiman, that video of the tree falling on that house, I'm sure the insurance will appreciate the video. Can't really fight the claim that the tree fell on the house. Although, God, the amount of insurance claims that are likely happening right now, probably absolutely huge. Yeah. And then Liz, yeah, there goes our perishable foods. Thankfully, a couple of friends have been like, I have room in my freezer. I have a little bit of space. We, of course, just went grocery shopping yesterday. So I was really hoping that none of our power went out. And and thankfully it didn't. We do have a generator. I don't believe we have gasoline for it. My husband will probably tell me. He'll probably text in and tell me I'm wrong or not. Then there's the rescues that were happening yesterday. Did you see this? Now this is from the Metro Fire of Sacramento. I want to show you this video. This was a missing kayaker that they actually found. Look at this video. Here we go. There's the kayak. You see it? And then there's the person. You know, they said on the side, they say, unfortunately, the victim was not wearing a life jacket and while occupying the river and was transported to the hospital in critical condition. Yeah, you definitely need to be wearing a life jacket if you are even thinking of kayaking. Have you seen the rivers raging right now? My husband showed me one video. Waves. You could surf these waves, it seemed like. So yeah, stay out of the water. It's not a good thing. The power outages are happening. There's always this intersection right by my house that, I mean, I'm not saying we haven't had some strong winds, but it's like if there is any wind, that light goes out. Yesterday was Pi Day, right? Because it was 3/14, and my daughter's math tutoring center does a huge Pi Day thing. They've been totally advertising it. They had all these activities. They had to cancel it. So I guess they're doing it. I think they're rounding up. So they're doing it on Saturday, the 18th, which the weather is supposed to be much, much nicer. And so fingers crossed that can happen for them. All right. So let's talk a little bit about another type of clash, but this was at UC Davis. Now, Charlie Kirk, some people would call him a conservative host. Others would call him a right-wing nutcase. He's also the founder of Turning Point USA. He wants to sue, or has threatened to sue, the Sacramento Bee. Now, the Sacramento Bee has an opinion columnist by the name of Hannah Holzer. The headline of her opinion piece said, "Another far-right speaker is coming to UC Davis. How should the community respond?" And then, her op-ed kind of goes up, starts off with a fact. Less than 6 months after a violent brawl broke out at UC Davis over a speaking event organized by Turning Point USA, its founder, Charlie Kirk, will visit the campus. And this was yesterday, and it says on Tuesday. And then Hannah, the op-ed writer, writes, Kirk's planned visit is upsetting and unwelcome, given what he said about the LGBTQ community, given the fact that UC Davis has not a great track record. Remember that picture of the protesters sitting there and the UC Davis police were just pepper spraying them, like he was spraying them with Febreze or some nonsense. Yeah, people haven't forgotten it. Not enough time has passed between then and now. Apparently last October, students and community members protesting a Turning Point USA event clashed with counter-protesters, including members of the Proud Boys, which of course we know is a white supremacist group. Turning Point USA and UC Davis leaders agreed to cancel the event due to safety concerns, and then Kirk took to Twitter to blame the violence on Antifa agitators, blah, blah, blah. First, I want to ask you in the comments, and John's even starting us off. Let them speak. How many of you know what I'm going to say? As I've talked about this many, many times, both here and at KGO Station X. I agree with John. Speak. Do not give them what they want, which is, and no hate on Hannah, but thanks for the free advertising. Thanks for, and I'm not meaning this hatefully. Okay, I'm being really sarcastic right now, but it's true. You kind of gin up agitation where there already is agitation, right? Charlie Kirk, he's a very divisive figure. He says some hateful things, and he makes his money doing so. That's his shtick, people. He says these outlandish things that he may or may not believe. to get you to react. And so now I'm not saying that you can't protest, again, freedom of speech and what have you. But when you do op-eds and you bring up all of the other stuff, one, it will trigger the protesters that don't want to even hear or have somebody like Charlie Kirk's feet step 1 foot on UC Davis's campus. Then you're going to have Kirk supporters and trolls who live for this crap. Live for it. Thanks for putting something on my calendar. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. And Kim, I'm talking about yesterday, Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, far right speech guy, went to UC Davis to give a speech.
Yeah.
And now he's suing the Sacramento Bee because they described him as, they said that they called him a fascist speaker. And then they said that Charlie Kirk has called for the lynching of trans people, a comment that should warrant the cancellation of a speaking engagement at UC Davis. Yeah. So that's it. And let me just preface this: an op-ed, an opinion piece, it wasn't by the editorial board. It was by an opinion columnist, Hannah Holzer, for the Sacramento Bee. And Kirk's like, "No, this is awful. That's you're slandering or libel my name. Blah blah blah." And then I'm saying Hannah is just doing him a favor by bringing all this attention to a speaking engagement, and even people that didn't even know what was going on now will know. This is Charlie Kirk's Twitter account. I'm going to show you the video, and you guys tell me. I guess you just give me your reaction to it, because it's.
Well, before you do, let me just say, and I don't know if you'd already mentioned this, there were a couple arrests of protesters outside, and there was an officer injured in the protests outside of this speech. So I think you have to ask, how important is it to have someone like this come to campus if they stir up all this stuff? You know?
I agree. Here's the video. And this might have been at least before the moments where that officer you were mentioning, Kim, got injured. Here we go. Now these are the...
Oh, goodness.
I got to turn your head. For some reason, they had to turn the thing. But you hear this now. I mean,
yeah. Are they banging on doors or smashing windows or all the above?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they're smashing the bottom windows of those doors. And they're protesting Charlie Kirk. Now, are we going to do, and you guys can let me know in the comments, are we going to do what a lot of the people who supported the insurrectionists are saying? Oh, those weren't us. Those were agitators that were doing that to kind of make us look bad. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. My whole thing is, you are giving Charlie Kirk everything he wants.
Yeah.
If you are protesting Charlie Kirk because you don't like him, breaking the doors and windows is a gold mine for him. Yeah. He is going to share and reshare that video to gin up even more support and prove his point about free speech and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, exactly here. It's what he wants.
Yeah. It'd be a lot better if no one showed up. No one protested. The seats were empty in the auditorium, and everyone was just...
Or the people that like Charlie Kirk were there, but that's it.
No attention for you.
No attention from, I don't like you, so I'm not going. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be on the opposite end of the campus, not even near you. And I'm going to draw people with a different type of message. Yeah. That is what I wish people would do. And it just never... I'm sorry, and I mean protesters of people like Charlie Kirk and others. You guys fall for it every freaking time. Milo, all of them, they want you. They need you there. They need you there. And you tell yourself, no, I need to be there to counter their message. You can counter it a different way. You can be on campus. You can advertise your event. You can urge people to not go there, to show Charlie Kirk that you're not going to get my eyeballs, my ears, or my social media feeds. That's what people need to do. Mm-hmm. And they fall for it every time, and it pisses me off, Kim. It really does, because I just, I can't stand it. But yeah, and apparently at the end of Hannah's op-ed in the SAC-B, they had to kind of add that, a statement to kind of apologize. They said an earlier version of this column included a statement that Charlie Kirk had called for the lynching of trans people. The basis for this accusation is a video clip in which Kirk was upset that a trans woman had won an NCAA swimming championship. In that clip, Kirk said that instead of letting the woman compete, quote, someone should have took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 50s and 60s.
No.
Some trans advocates on social media extrapolated that Kirk's comments that he called for trans people to be lynched. It's an accusation to be repeated, but a review of the video shows Kirk never advocated for trans people to be lynched. In fact, he strongly denies the accusations, and these notes have been added to the column. So, all right, so you guys let me know in the comments what you think about this. I mean, am I wrong? Am I missing something here? Or did they fall for it again? All of these protesters of Charlie Kirk, Ann Coulter's, Milo Yiannopoulos', did they mess up? What would you have done if you knew Charlie Kirk was speaking at UC Davis or a campus that you were going to? You let me know in the comments, because right now we do want to take a moment to go to our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz, MoskowitzLLP.com. I hope you didn't blow away, Steve, yesterday. Followers on.
No, I managed to stay firmly rooted. That's part of what the head of a law firm should do, is stay firmly rooted.
Well, I'm sure people were calling your office and definitely want you to be there with the lights on and working on their cases.
Absolutely. And, there's so much, and I just over and over again, it's funny. Yes, remember I talked so much about ERC and the easy way and the complicated way, and how we spend all this time. Well, yesterday I did one of the cases the easy way. He had the numbers, and it was so easy.
Oh, wow.
And, because I'm used to working with clients and sometimes multiple visits and getting me homework, and no, that's not enough.
Right.
And what I thought is, if the professional only cares about making a quick buck, how easy it is to do it the easy way, because, the mathematical way, it's what's 1 + 1? It's 2. It's it's over. As opposed to, let's go in the museum and decide which are the most beautiful paintings. That's a different story. And that objective test, it was sort of like, I did it and it was so quick, and that's it. I have nothing more to do. This client qualifies. And then I thought, that's why all these firms, I could see somebody that doesn't care about what's best for the clients. It's so seductive, because doing just the mathematical test is so quick and so easy. You could sit there all day and do a tremendous number of these clients, but the great harm they're causing is they're telling so many people, your gross revenue didn't go down enough, you don't qualify. And that's not the case. The law says there's another method. Just the other method is a lot more work, and they don't want to do it. It's kind of like a doctor who says, well, no, you just got to suffer. There's no cure for you. When there is another treatment, it's just he doesn't do that treatment, and he or she should say, well, go to the doctor down the hall, or there's another treatment, find that doctor. And I see that over and over and over again. But guys, honest, it is such a difference between the two methods, because I did one yesterday, with the math, and it was just so quick and easy. It's like, that's it. But yeah, that's it. And I can see how seductive that could be to some firms that didn't care about the clients. We care about the clients. What we don't care about is how much work we have to do to see if you qualify. Not everybody qualifies, of course, but a lot of people do qualify on this alternative method. So if you've been told you don't qualify for ERC because your gross revenue didn't go down enough, that's only one of two methods. We're willing to invest the time, the effort, and the energy to see if you qualify for that method. And if you do, let's go ahead and get every dollar to which you're legally entitled.
Who doesn't want the harder worker on their team? And Steve Moskowitz and his team are the hardest working in the biz. So give them a call. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. That's 888-TAX-DEAL, or MoskowitzLLP.com. Have a good one, Steve.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So yeah, give them a call. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. Sleep the sleep of the innocent, as he loves to say. Okay, let me read some of the comments. So if you're just joining us, Charlie Kirk, he's the founder of Turning Point USA. He's a far right nut, in my opinion. And he's not worth my time. And he has, okay. And let me just do a little editorializing on myself. His voice is very annoying. It's also along the lines of, what's the other annoying voiced guy? Charlie Kirk and
Gilbert Gottfried.
No.
Fran Drescher.
It's a far right guy. It'll come to me. But yeah, it's not that matters. But Jesus, if you're going to listen to somebody, I would hope that they'd have a better voice. But anyways, he's a nut. He's a total Trumper. He says all these off the wall offensive things, and he makes his money doing so. And so when he decides to go to UC Davis, there's a reason why he's going to UC Davis, because he wants to get the reaction. He wants it. He feeds off it. It pays his bills. It gets attention to Turning Point. It gets attention from people like former President Trump. It works for him. He is willing to sell his soul for that type of attention. Now, the Lady Beatrice says people should call the same for him and see how Charlie Kirk likes it. If there was a protest against him, I'd be right there because Charlie Kirk has said dangerous stuff. I mean, I would never just protest a person. Honestly, I would never protest a person. I certainly wouldn't protest a person who makes their money off of me protesting. It's literally like putting money in their pocket. Let me help you get more attention. Let me expand your reach on social media. Let me feed the machine that is this far right nutcase. Let me do that. That's what you're doing, in my opinion. But it is what you're doing. It's what you're doing. If we stopped paying attention to these people, they would not go away. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying anything close to that. There's too much, sadly, hate, discrimination, whatever in this country, in this world, that these people won't go away. But you don't have to help them. You don't have to help them get their message across, because you know what hits the news? What hits the news is there was doors broken and a policeman in at a speech by Charlie Kirk. And then Charlie Kirk's name is said over and over again, and it shows up in Google searches, and it does all of these things. And he's like, cha-ching. Thanks, libs. Thank you, snowflakes. Thank you. That's what you want? No. Lewis says they should not be violent like this, the people that were breaking the doors. You can protest, but they take it too far.
Right.
Now, Eric brings up something, because I was bringing up Milo Yiannopoulos along with Ann Coulter and other people. And Eric says Milo was actively harming people by outing them and should not be allowed to speak. No, I don't think it's right for somebody to out somebody. I think it's very dangerous. But again, the alternative is also dangerous. You're just ginning up the crowd. You're bringing even more eyeballs. I still think what I'm saying is valid. Now, Milo has really gotten a lot of consequences from his past speech. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't checked lately, of course, he was losing a lot of money, a lot of endorsements. So Milo might be on the way down. It's not Mark Levin. It's, who is it?
Steven something.
No, he talked like this. It's not Charlie Kirk, though. It's Ben Shapiro. That's who it is. It's Ben Shapiro, right? I think that's him. I think that's the guy I'm thinking of. I hope it is, because if not, then sorry, Bob or Ben. Let's see. Bob Grant. I don't know who that is. No, it's not that person. Let's see. John says, only time I even pay attention to Kirk is when he says something so stupid it's funny. Well, that means you're tuning in. Right? I mean, to see if somebody says something funny, then you have to be tuning in. And well,
it's, the more outrageous, the more awful the statement is, the more people react to it. And the more people go, wait, what? You said what? It happened yesterday with former President Trump releasing this book of all the letters that he got saying, Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana and President Nixon, all kissed my ass. And it's like, your head kind of swivels and you're like, he said what? And that's what they're looking for, that reaction. Exactly. The more outrageous the comment, the more, profound or dramatic the reaction. And that's what they want.
Exactly. Ed Krasenstein, him and his brother were really big in politics and a huge critique of Trump and all of that. He apparently was calling out Charlie Kirk and this whole uproar about the UC Davis protest. And he's trying to push that there were counter protesters, including members of the Proud Boys that were there. And then also people are carrying signs that say bash fash, which I have not heard of.
Like bash
But
fascism?
bash the fascist.
Oh.
It's a term used by anarchists and people who are anti-fascist. It advocates for the use of violent opposition to fascism and Nazism. Fash stands for fascism. Skinhead, which is the ideological movement, defines as Nazi scum. Now, he says those causing violence or breaking windows should be arrested. And that's the thing. You lose your message when all anybody can pay attention to is the broken glass. Right. And, I understand the anger. I understand why you want to protest. I'm just saying, if it's on campus, just choose another location far away where there is a definite split and draw people to your message. Be a counter message, be pro something, be pro diversity, be pro whatever he's bashing, and bring people along that way. But you going over there and getting in the mud with Charlie Kirk is not doing anybody any good. So that's all I have to say about that. Okay. We're going to do some news and then we're going to switch gears. A lot of tech news out there. Clark Reid is going to be joining us. We'll talk TikTok. We'll talk Silicon Valley Bank. We'll talk about a bunch of other things. Please smash that thumbs up button. It helps the show. We really enjoy it. The super chat is also live if you want to throw us some dollars during the show. And a reminder that in the second part of the show, we are going to be doing a Why Do You Do It? And it's a special segment with Sam, who you often see in our community. Number one fan is Sam, who always texted in on the text line. He's going to join us to talk about why the hell he's in the restaurant business, how he got there, and how he dealt with COVID. So that's going to come up in the second part of our show. But first, let's take a look at some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's start with the atmospheric river. Assemblymember Chris Ward proposing legislation broadening the atmospheric river program administered through the Department of Water Resources here in California to link reservoir and flood control operations with best practices in prediction modeling to optimize water management, increase water storage, which we desperately need, and reduce flood risk. Today, the bill passed out of the Assembly Water, Parks, and Wildlife Committee on a bipartisan vote. Atmospheric rivers typically carry an amount of water vapor roughly equivalent to the average flow of water at the mouth of the Mississippi River. That according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I don't know if you've heard about this, Nikki, but reparations in San Francisco. The city, San Francisco, could become the first major U.S. city to fund reparations for slavery and systemic racism. Payments of $5 million to every eligible Black adult, the elimination of personal debt and tax burdens, guaranteed annual incomes of at least $97,000 for 250 years, and homes in San Francisco for just $1 per family are part of what is being considered by a city-appointed task force.
Yeah.
Critics have slammed it as being financially impossible, with one analyst estimating that each non-Black family in the city would have to pay at least $600,000. But reparation committee members consider their results to be an accurate estimate of what it would take to begin to repair the enduring damage of slavery and discrimination. And they bristle at the idea that they should figure out how to pay for it.
Well, if we have time after Clark, we'll get into this a little bit more. I had a quick little video that kind of goes over it all. And again, I think the question is not just a dollar amount, but what is the money going to be used for? Do I think that if you give, the number of Black San Franciscans $5 million, that's going to fix all of the harm? No, but I do think that there needs to be housing, educational, a closing of the wealth gap. These are the things that have been mentioned to not make people whole, but to kind of fill that gap that was created because of this terrible mark on our history.
Stanford Medical Center, one of the best in the country. The Silicon Valley, home to 4 of the country's best medical centers, one among the best in the world. All 4 landed on Newsweek magazine's 2023 list of the world's best hospitals. Stanford Healthcare, Stanford Hospital, El Camino Hospital in Mountain View, Kaiser Permanente Santa Clara Medical Center, and the Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula. Stanford ranked number 16 worldwide. The list ranked 400 U.S. hospitals, total of more than 2,000 hospitals from nearly 30 countries. The rankings were based on patient surveys, medical professional feedback, risk-adjusted mortality, readmission rates, and timeliness of care, among other criteria. So it's nice to know, though, that we've got some of the top hospitals here in the Bay Area, especially for folks in the South Bay. That's pretty good. It's nice to have that right in the Bay Area, just in case you need it. Let's move to drones, because yesterday we had this drone situation in the Ukraine-Russia area. Well, now the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, is again calling out Russia after its jets downed a U.S. drone over the Black Sea. Speaking at the Pentagon, he called what happened hazardous. He said it's a part of a pattern of aggressive, risky, unsafe actions by Russian pilots in international airspace. He spoke alongside the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley. The MQ-9 drone was forced down after a Russian fighter jet damaged its propeller over international waters. Russia denies its aircraft collided with the drone, arguing the U.S. aircraft made a sharp maneuver and then crashed into the water. And I will say that they were trying to possibly recover that drone, and it looks like it is in too deep of water for it to be able to be recovered. So it's a goner. They're not going to be able to pick that one up. And now there's a lot of fallout over that situation. Honda is going to be recalling many of their vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the recall is for more than 448,000 vehicles. Let me get the picture of the drone off and the picture of the Honda up. How about that? 448,000 vehicles. Here's a little picture of a Honda for you, although I don't know if this is one of the ones recalled. The driver and front passenger seat belts might not latch correctly. Uh-oh, that's a big problem. Owners of the affected vehicles are going to be sent letters in the mail on April 17th. They'll include instructions for taking their vehicle to an authorized dealer for a free replacement of that seatbelt buckle assembly. And I love these commercials, Nikki. I don't know if you enjoy them as much as I do, but Ryan Reynolds' Mint Mobile, it's going to be acquired by T-Mobile for more than $1 billion. Did you see this?
love Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, and I saw that news. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Reynolds currently holds a minority ownership stake in the company. T-Mobile said it'll be able to leverage Mint's industry-leading digital marketing expertise as part of its broader portfolio to reach new customer segments. Mint Mobile's founders will stay at T-Mobile to manage the brands. When the deal closes, Reynolds will also continue in his creative role for Mint. So we'll put him on T-Mobile spots, I guess.
He is raking in the money. So what we have Mint. He has a gin company. He's partial owner of the football soccer team. I mean, the guy is and he's an actor, and he's a huge Hollywood actor. That's a smart guy right there. So good for him.
Money, money, and money, honey. He's in no short supply over at the Ryan Reynolds household. Okay, so last story, football star Aaron Rodgers says he'd like to be a New York Jet.
Yep.
The 39-year-old Green Bay Packers quarterback telling the Pat McAfee show his intention is to play in New York. Rodgers said he hasn't been holding anything up. It's the Packers and the compensation they're trying to get for him. Rodgers said spending 3 full days and 4 nights in darkness recently helped clear his body and his mind to make this decision. He said the Packers made it clear they wanted to move on.
All right. There you go.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. Bye-bye, Aaron Rodgers. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, you can get a hold of Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. All right, let's talk some more tech news with our good friend Clark Reid, and welcome into the show. Hey, Clark. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Well, real quickly, Kim just did that story about Mint Mobile and T-Mobile.
Yeah.
And, somebody in the comments, I don't know if this is true. I don't have any history of Mint Mobile, but Chris says Mint Mobile is for people who don't pay their bills. I don't know Mint Mobile. I don't know.
I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I mean, it's not a burner phone company. I mean, it is,
So
real.
it's a valid, reputable place, and good for Ryan Reynolds for being able to do all that. Okay, so let's get into some of the headlines today. TikTok. Now, TikTok is being banned on state phones, government phones.
Yep.
People have a lot of national security issues with it because of China. And now you're telling me they may split. Is that what you're saying, from ByteDance, which is the Chinese company?
Yeah, they're talking it kind of as a last resort, but they claim they've spent $1.5 billion on, quote, rigorous data security efforts the last couple of years. But the government's really and Republican, Democrat alike worried about them backdooring people's data back to the Chinese army, which is where they have the ties to. And therefore then to the government. And the fact is, as I said in my blog today, note to elderly lawmakers, if that could happen, it already has happened. The data's there. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's been there. So, I mean, you could put a stop to it, but I don't see them being able to ban the app all the way. There are 100 million people, that use the app in the United States. That would cause an uproar like you couldn't believe. And a lot of them are younger people.
But could they fundamentally change how people use that app? Not necessarily getting rid of it, but put so many regulations on it.
Yeah, and one of the ways they're changing things, and they've already begun this, is moving to servers that are located here or in other places outside China. And that's one way that they can, clamp down on them exporting data. But I'm just saying, I imagine they've exported a lot of data already to the Chinese government. I mean, come on.
The things we're giving them, although, Clark, don't you just think that some of the data we're giving them is just showing how idiotic we are and how good of dancers we are? I mean, what are we giving them versus, I guess, things that we want to buy and maybe kind of the consumer aspect of it all?
But other than that, I mean, they have a name and maybe a phone number and, an email address. So they have, and they can put that together. They're aggregators. One of them is in Florida. I can't remember the name. I've lost that. But they buy this data from all the social media companies, aggregate it all together, and that's how they can serve you it. I got a text message from somebody the other day discussing an item. But I went back online a little while later, maybe half hour later, wasn't a lot, went on Facebook, and I got served an ad for the damn product that this person was, talking. Of
course he did.
I will tell you what it was. He was talking about a vegetarian bean recipe, and he mentioned a name of a brand of beans, and boom, there's a big can of the beans in my feed. And it's like,
I'm telling you. And people think that the phones or the computer are listening to you. Other people are saying, no, it's because they're cross-referencing searches, and then it goes so quickly. And that's how it actually happens, is your friend probably Google searched it. Now you're connected to him, so that Google search is connected to you. And that's how it
exactly. And you just, he's giving me this recipe and everything. And I go, oh my God, I just got served an ad for those beans. And he goes, oh yeah. So that they know everything, and they really do.
They do. Let's talk a little bit about Silicon Valley Bank.
A lot of fallout.
Impact housing markets. Is it gonna drop rates?
This is interesting. This an article just came out today. The chief economist for Zillow, whose name is Skylar Olson, put out a memo today saying that it looks like, and there are others that agree with this, looks like the Fed may skip the rate increase next month because of this shakeout with Silicon Valley Bank and the one bank in New York, Signature Bank, and that could take the pressure off. They said, in fact, the rates have dropped. Let me look this up so I get it right. From 7.05% down to 6.75 as of this morning. So that's a nice drop, that will help people's mortgage payments come down and make more people able to buy houses. The downside for us and for Seattle, where Zillow is located, is that in the big tech markets, it's softened the price of houses. They've dropped. However, they haven't really dropped in the burbs. I know out where I am, a townhouse near me went on the market for $419,000 and sold in 2 days for $430,000.
That's a steal, though. I mean, if you're talking about Bay Area, people were like, "Oh, snatch that up."
It had just been remodeled. It's a very nice one, 1,150 square feet. It's a nice, nice unit and everything, but it just, talk about a soft market. It went for over $10,000 over asking price almost immediately. So I don't think outside of the immediate San Francisco area that, that is hurting the prices so far, but we'll see.
I was talking at the start of the show, Clark, about the powerful storm and people losing their power. And I have a generator, but I need gas for it or something.
Yeah.
But Tesla's power walls, I guess, could be an option for some people. What's the news with that?
Well, I have a son that's got a big roof, and he's talked about, and he works for a suburb, and he's looked at getting the solar panels and the power walls and all that and going off the grid, basically. Well, power walls have been historically $6,500 to $8,500, depending on the size you get.
Ooh,
well, now they've released them to the public. You don't have to buy, the car. You don't have to buy a bunch of solar panels. You can just buy a power wall all by itself because the supply's increased. But you know what they're asking for the damn things?
I knew you're going to.
$12,850. And that's according to the guys that this is according to the guys at This Old House, do remodels and everything on PBS. So they know the market and everything, and
Why the jump? Why the jump in cost?
Because they can.
Wow.
I mean, you can buy one of the Genelac generators that run on propane for $2,000.
Right.
Set it outside your house, and it'll run all night and all day. And so, man, I mean, $12,850.
It's not as cool as having the Tesla Powerwall, Clark. That's probably why people.
And it sits in your garage on the wall, and there's a power inverter, and it's just this neat package, 3 or 4 inches thick, and maybe 2 by 3 feet. So that is cool. Doesn't make any noise. I mean, somebody was bugging me. I lost power yesterday. I got a text and said, "Hey, this so-and-so lost power. Can you go on the air and fill in for him?" Right. And so I logged in and I do a couple of reports, and then boom, my power goes out.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So I text back and said, sorry, and I had somebody say, well, you could put one of those things right. I said, no, it'd have to go on my deck or right next to it down below. I'm in a 2-story. Yeah. And I said, with that thing chugging away outside of this window, I couldn't work on the air. I couldn't do this. I mean,
that would be the same for me. A generator is loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I could power like my fridge, and so I don't lose my food. But that's
exactly. But the power wall, the advantage of that is you could last 10, 12 hours. And by the way, our former IT engineer at Station X has I don't know if it's a power wall, but has an electric power source like that.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah,
because he was bragging about it online when I was complaining about the prices of these. So, I have one. I still have 12 more hours to go, and I think thank you, Andrew. As I sit here in the dark, and you're sitting there, with everything working because you have one of those.
There you go. Now, speaking of batteries, let's talk about electric charging stations for our cars.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things in the bill that the Biden administration got passed last summer, was a lot of money to go to charging stations and put in several 100,000 of them nationwide, which will really help a lot. With General Motors is putting in a bunch, Ford is, Tesla's opened theirs up to everybody. There are a lot of people getting in it, but now the government with their real big money is coming in, and they just today released $2.5 billion in funds to cities, counties, and states and tribes to put in. Part of them have to go into like parking lots and parks and public areas, right? But they want about half of them to go near main freeways and highways, so that you have electric, pathways around the country where you can pull in and charge up.
What about the news? And I don't know, I'm going to throw this at you. What about the news that Tesla has to open up its charging stations to everybody?
And they already have. They've already started that. They did that in Europe and tested it out about a year ago, and it worked fine. And so now they're in the process of doing that, of switching over so that anybody can use a Tesla power station.
I mean, I'm sure Tesla drivers are not going to like it, but
no. And part of the deal is it takes a different charging socket, so they have to have that available. Number one, and number two, a different section of the app, because with the Tesla, it just hits your Tesla app, and and charges you automatically for that. And so they've got to work that out to where it will charge your credit card or your account. If you're not a Tesla driver.
Yeah, they'll make money off of that.
Oh, of course they will.
Let's talk about Rivian. So now Rivian has a partnership with Amazon that's going to change? Yeah,
they do. And I mean, we've seen the pickup trucks. I've seen several around San Francisco and the Bay Area and everything, but their big deal is delivery vans. That's where that's their bread and butter. That's keeping them alive. And Amazon had said they'd buy 100,000 from them, and they're going to, but apparently they've only taken the minimum this year, which is about 10,000 vans. And Rivian's going, hey, wait a minute, man, we need more. And so they're in talks. And apparently Amazon is being cool about it and going to let them release some of those units and build them for other, delivery people. So you may see, UPS buying some, maybe, or FedEx or whoever, buying some of the Rivian electric vans and putting them on the streets.
Well, that's good. I mean,
I've already seen an Amazon one, and said engineer from Station X he sent a picture, and he'd seen one in his neighborhood down in Pleasant Hill too.
They're weird looking.
I know they are.
Yeah, they are weird looking.
I saw one yesterday. It's like, woo! They're all like strange,
not as
with the
goofy,
lights all around.
Not as goofy looking as the new postal electric vans, which are really strange. They have this really low hood and great, huge glass. And I looked at that and I go, kids are going to break out those windshields like crazy. That's going to cost a fortune. They're going to take a look at that and say, oh, Target.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
what's inside that van? There you go.
Yeah, I think that was, a typical government boondoggle, but we shall see.
Meta is working on something I don't know if anybody needs, which is a competitor to Twitter. I thought Facebook was the competitor to Twitter, but I guess not.
Well, yeah, but I think they're looking at doing just, a stream of text type of app, more like Twitter. It would use your Instagram credentials to log in, apparently, but would be a separate freestanding app, and would be more text based and more of just a stream of comments and posts, very much like Twitter. That's what they're working on anyway. No timeline on it yet. We don't have anything like that, but they have that in the works. And by the way, speaking of Meta or Facebook or whatever you want to call it this week, they apparently have now killed NFTs on both Facebook and Instagram.
Darn! Oh my goodness! Can I get a receipt for that thing?
A lot of us died laughing about that. Like, oh, good, I can buy my own original digital picture that any idiot can copy in 2 seconds, and it looks just the same as mine. Exactly. And some people have spent like $20,000 and stuff on this kind of garbage.
I mean, it's insane. You guys know how I felt about NFTs. I never laid up on it. It was the most ridiculous thing, and I know people doubled down on it.
Yeah.
And I get it. You want to ride some sort of wave if you can, knock yourself out, but it always sounded ridiculous. It's like taking a picture, putting it online and thinking no one's going to steal it. And screenshots exist, people.
And it's digital. The screenshot is just as perfect as, and this is getting into the weeds a little bit. You can strip out all of the metadata so that it doesn't look like a copy, and you can rename it so that it looks like the original. So it's completely bogus.
It's stupid. Yeah. Now, our good friend Ken is saying that there was a bunch of layoffs at Meta.
Yes.
10,000. And then 5,000 positions that they're going to leave vacant. Yeah,
that's right. They're not going to fill 5,000, laying off 10,000, and then next month they're going to lay off an undetermined number of tech people, and the month after that, a number of business department people. So they're not done yet.
Wow. So I mean, are they still blaming this on we hired too many people? Kind of a
so far, yes. Yeah, so far, yes. But their money is down because advertising's down. Not as many people are staying home playing on Facebook all the time now, and so I mean, they don't have as many eyeballs from for the advertisers. I get that.
Do we know? And again, throwing this at you, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. What is the leading social media network right now? I mean, because Instagram and Facebook are the same thing. Yeah. I mean, TikTok and Snapchat and Twitter. I mean, there just seems to be so many. I don't know if we've hit a saturation point, or is there still a race going on?
I would think that it would be, and I don't know. I'm guessing. I would think that it's Facebook because they have Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is so huge worldwide. Has a lot of people use that for their phone service worldwide. In third world countries and everything. So I would guess that it's them, but I do not know.
All right. Well, Clark, we love having you on the show. All of our viewers love seeing you as well. I love this weekly segment. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Thank you so much, Clark Reid. Thank you. Bye. Bye. And again, you can find Clark Reid's, he does, like a blog. It's clarkreid.me. And you could find all sorts of topics that he does, clarkreid.me. And he's so much fun. And I just love talking to him. He's a good one. Now, Kim thinks it's TikTok. Somebody, can you Google it for me, Kim? You tell me. Calvin's like OnlyFans. Probably. I don't think that's a social media
the
site,
top
though.
social media company.
Yeah, like, how do they rank them? I mean, I would imagine users, but is it still, it can't still be Facebook. I guess if you include WhatsApp and Instagram, possibly. I think the one that gets the most attention right now is TikTok, but even they're trying to play catch up because their whole model is being adopted by other places like Instagram, between the shorts and the reels. YouTube, I'm wondering, because I know that YouTube, when we launched this, one of the most, and I don't know why it surprises me because I do it all the time, it just didn't register, is that behind Google, YouTube, one of the biggest search engines. If you're looking for something, if you're looking for a story or a video or something like that, so many people just go on YouTube to try to find it. Or even if you do a Google search, what pops up in your searches is YouTube. And yeah, that's crazy. So
I'm not finding anything that looks like more than a marketing that,
right.
It doesn't. Yeah.
John says they go by clicks or how many server hits they get. Yeah, I think the Meta umbrella might be so big that is why Facebook might still be in the running. Snapping up Instagram was genius. And then of course with WhatsApp, Snapchat, I believe, is still a standalone.
So here's a website that lists the top social media companies by users and also by revenue. And number one is Meta Platforms with $115.6 billion annual revenue in 2021. So Facebook, Meta would be number one. YouTube is number two, $28.8 billion annual revenue in 2021. So that's here we are at number two, right? WeChat, which I'm not on that, but that's $17 billion in annual revenue in 2021. WeChat. I haven't checked that out. LinkedIn, number four. You're muted.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. If you're trying to say something, LinkedIn is number four, 10 billion in annual revenue. Number five is Twitter, 5 billion in annual revenue. That was in 2021. Six is TikTok, 4.6 billion in annual revenue. Again, that's from 2021. Seven is Snap, 4.12 billion. Pinterest, number 8, 2.57 billion. Yeah, number 9 is Reddit, 100 million annual revenue in 2021. And number 10 is something called Telegram, $9 million annual revenue.
I've heard of Telegram. So that kind of surprises me that TikTok is, in my opinion, kind of low on that list. WeChat is another Chinese company. It's an instant messaging social media app. So yeah, I guess they use digital payments and things like that. I just did a quick Google search. That's why I was muted. Well, there you go. I mean, this is my barometer, just to end it on this note. If my father or father-in-law is using a social media app and it is just blanketed, like, I'm like, wow. Well, not necessarily that I'm not, but it's reached them. So like my father-in-law loves YouTube. Is on YouTube so many times. So it's just, if you're, the older generation and they're really using it, I would imagine that we're hitting this point where it becomes so ubiquitous and so many people of all ages and demographics are using it. And that's what would make it so big and so profitable. Okay, so stick with KGO. My God, I can't believe I said that. Stick with the Nikki Medoro show.
Don't stick with KGO. We're out.
I can't believe I said that. That just like came out of like the dark recesses of my mind.
I almost logged off of news with it the other day. I think
God.
affected you.
I haven't said that in forever. Wow. Okay. Stick with us on the Nikki Medoro show on YouTube, by the way. We're going to do another segment of why
top media company in the world.
Why do you do it? The restaurant edition, the Restauranteur edition. Sam is going to join us. You know Sam from our community. Yeah. He was a huge supporter over at Station X, KGO. Always use the text line. We love him. So he's been a huge supporter of the show. And so I'm so happy to have this conversation live with him about why he got into the restaurant business, how he survived COVID. We'll see where the conversation goes from there. Please click the thumbs up button before we go to Kim's news. Again, the super chat is live. You can throw some dollars there. Please consider joining our Patreon crew, the Medorables, as I say. The NikkiMedoroShow.com. The NikkiMedoroShow.com is where you find the Patreon link and links to our other shows to share it with your family and friends. We'll talk, why do you do it? Why would you ever get into the restaurant business? Next on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Some breaking news for you. There is a situation in San Jose at a middle school underway. One student is in custody after stabbing another student. This happened at Sunrise Middle School in San Jose. The student who was stabbed is 15 years old, non-life-threatening injuries. And again, another student is in custody in connection with this school stabbing. In Los Angeles, former mayor Eric Garcetti will be the next U.S. ambassador to India. This after he was confirmed by the Senate. That comes after some senators expressed reservations over accusations that Garcetti knew his former political aide was sexually harassing people. Garcetti has denied that accusation, and now off he goes to India to represent the United States. The FBI has no records related to former President Trump's claim that he sent agents to stop voter fraud in Florida during the 2018 election. That is what the agency told NBC News in response to a reporter's Freedom of Information Act request, seeking records on Trump's claims. In November, the former president said he helped now Florida Governor Ron DeSantis by sending FBI agents to stop ballot theft in Broward County, which includes Fort Lauderdale. Again, the FBI has no such records related to that. There was a bomb threat called in today against Stanford Shopping Center in Palo Alto. Happened this morning. Police searched the mall looking for any possible explosives. Didn't find anything. So the mall's open now and okay. Some pretty gusty winds yesterday brought some trees down across the Bay Area and also brought a really cool video. And, I don't know if you've seen the videos, Nikki, of the Golden Gate Bridge singing, but one driver shared with Cron 4 this video of the Golden Gate Bridge singing, and I was going to try to see if I could play it for you guys.
Let's see. That singing? That sounds awful.
The wind whistling through the Golden Gate Bridge.
I would be scared. It sounds like aliens are coming.
Doesn't it? Like the screeching?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll stop it because it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. But yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing. It's kind of a different thing. That high wind yesterday really made an impact. It toppled some big rigs on the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. They had to close down a portion of the bridge until the winds died down so they could get those big rigs upright and haul them off the span. A lot of trees came down and a lot of damage done. So people still kind of picking up from all that as well. Yeah. And so, there was a visitor. I wanted to end with this. A visitor to an Arkansas state park recently made a very valuable discovery. David Anderson was digging at the Crater of Diamonds State Park earlier this month when he found a 3.29 carat brown diamond. It's brown.
Brown diamond?
It's brown. Anderson has found more than 400 diamonds during his frequent visits to the park over the last 16 years. It's 3.29 carats, though. That's a big chunk of diamond.
Is it worth less if it's brown?
I would imagine.
I mean, can we clean it? I guess the clarity is really low, so that would be a no on
Maybe
that,
it's got some good sparkles. I don't know.
I've never seen any brown sparkle, Kim, but maybe. Who knows?
Apparently, brown diamonds can be really pretty. I'll show you a photo of a brown diamond because
is it
I
shiny?
think you might. It looks kind of chocolatey, and I think you might actually want the brown diamond in your life. Would you pick it over a clear, sparkly diamond? I don't know.
Ooh, that is pretty. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Right?
Ooh, that's nice. I have a diamond ring. I'm married and I have a diamond ring, and I know there's a lot of people that move away from diamonds.
Right.
The manufactured diamond, they're just as gorgeous. If it's pretty, I think that's all that matters. I don't think there should be so much attention on it being an actual diamond. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I like it.
Oh, I like a brown diamond. Maybe not for a wedding ring, but for something else, little
Yeah, like
necklace
a
or
cocktail
something.
ring or something like that. Yeah,
I'm not turning my head away from a 3.29 carat
no,
diamond, whatever its color.
exactly.
This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, Steve can be reached at 888-TAX-DEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Right. Oh, there's Kim blowing her nose.
Oh, sorry. This
You.
is what I do. See, I take away the video, and then I still have the audio. So I'm sick. I'm sorry, you guys.
It's okay. Thank you, Kim, for being here, even though you're under the weather. And now it is time for one of my favorite segments. Why do you do it? The Restauranteur edition. And I know a lot of people that own restaurants, have tried to go into the restaurant or even the bar business. It is not easy. It's not easy at all. And so I want to welcome one of the Nikki Medoro Show's very longtime fans, because he was a huge texter over at KGO Station X. And that, of course, is Sam. Sam, I do not want to butcher your name, so can you please pronounce your last name for me?
Elbandek.
Sam Elbandek. Just as it looks. Sam, I am so stoked to be able to talk to you on my show. We've communicated off air. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I'm so honored, and I'm excited to be here with you guys live. Finally, it's been years texting and listening to you, and now part of the show. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah. It's now, just to let you know, look how big of a fan Sam is. I mean, there he is on Christmas. He got the shirt.
So cute.
Got the coffee cup. We love you, Sam. But you now let's get a little background. There. Oh, look at you. Look. We're twins. Cheers. There we go. Give me a little bit of background on you, Sam. So you own 2 restaurants, correct, in San Francisco?
That is correct. The last one was opened in November. So
Wow.
I've been in the food business for probably mid-90s. While I was going to college, I was into the natural food, organic food, marketing and distribution. And then in 2015, when I met my wife, she was working at a restaurant in Russian Hill. And that's when we thought, let's open a restaurant. And happened that we tried to buy that restaurant 2 times, and the deal dropped a day before we took over. Then they decided to change the concept. So that last weekend, walking down Polk Street, we saw, of course, we gave up on finding an empty place. It's a very busy area. Then we saw one Chinese restaurant that was slow for a Friday night, picked up a menu, called them, called me back in 5 minutes, met in half an hour, and gave them an offer that night. So it meant to happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're still at that location.
Now this is the new spot on Polk. That's this one?
That is the new spot on Polk. It's right on Polk and Union on the corner.
If you want to know if you're walking by it, Sam sent me some pictures. This is the outside of it. I just correct me if I'm wrong here. And this is the kind of the parklets. So I want to get into how you dealt with COVID. But first off, you and your wife, you meet, she's working in this restaurant. Just because you have that experience doesn't necessarily mean it's the same as owning and running a restaurant. I'm sure you've heard the scary stories about opening up a restaurant. What made you think that you could do it? Do you have history? Have you ever run something like this before?
I've always owned my own business. So since I was 22, I started by having the distribution business. And since then, I take the risk, measured risk, of course. I work hard. I'm a hustler. I always try to make it happen. And my wife had the same qualities. So she's like, let's do it. Let's take the risk. Let's do it. And that's when I know restaurants are not easy, definitely are not easy. And that's why I'm here to talk about those challenges. And but grateful to the community there. It was a very successful story from day one. So we opened on Memorial Weekend on a Saturday. Sunday, we had a line for like an hour, people waiting. Same thing with Monday, which is a long weekend. And since then, it's been a busy restaurant for us.
Here's the inside of the restaurant. Very cute. Look at that. Now, you sent me some food pictures. You have another restaurant also, though. It's called Towns End Brunch, correct? So here's the sign. Now this one, and then this is the inside of Towns End. Very nice indeed. Towns End Brunch, I'm assuming the description's in its name. It's only open for brunch?
Well, what happened, we used to open for dinner at the new spot on Polk.
Okay.
When we got the opportunity to take over the Towns End restaurant and cafe, which has been there for 30 years, closed down because of the pandemic. They tried to revive it, they couldn't. And it was a very well-known restaurant, and the location is amazing. When you're dining inside, you see the Bay Bridge and the bay. Ooh. And it's set up as a restaurant. The other place more like a neighborhood cafe. It's a square shape. It used to be a house. This one is more of a restaurant. So when I saw it, we were not planning on another business. I talked to my wife and she said, "Oh no, let's not do it." Then when she went and saw it, same feeling. She's like, "Let's do it." So we ended up, in order to really overcome some of the challenges, so we started closing the new spot on Polk at 2. So made both restaurants breakfast and lunch only. We moved some of the night staff from the new spot to work in the morning at Townsend, so we can eliminate some of the issue of staffing. And it's at least we still have our life. I mean, having a restaurant, there are no weekends, but at least every day we go home at 2.
That's awesome. I mean, that is quite the adjustment. How did your staff take to kind of that move? I can imagine, different.
I missed the last part. It was cutting off.
You're cutting out a little bit. It was hard to hear you toward the end there. But I think she's asking, how does your staff take to moving and to being in 2 places, and how are you working it out with them?
To be honest, I am very blessed with my staff. Most of the employees have been with us since we opened the new spot on Polk. And honestly, pandemic, the only reason why we stayed open, we did not close at all, was for them more than it was for us. But then it worked well. And so they're very happy for us to open another place. And my main cook, he does both of them. So he manages both kitchens. And it's been a great support from the staff as well.
So I guess the question, the root of this segment, the why you do it, is what motivates you? What kind of passion inside, what fills you up to do what you do and work as hard as you do?
So the best thing in our partnership is, like, I have passion to dealing with people. I'm a people person. I like the service aspect of the business. And my wife loves food. So she loves cooking. She loves eating. She knows what the good food is. And so it was a great combination to really, when she thought of the idea, I was like, let's do it. I love the idea. Let's do it. And that's really was the magic, is we have a good team. It's hard to work in the same space at the same time. So we try to avoid that. Otherwise we'll be like punching each other. But it's working perfect. It's been 7 years, 6.5, 7 years, and it's working perfect.
Do you have any plans to open up any more restaurants?
I don't think so. Honestly, we were not even planning on the second. But then when we had that opportunity, I got a call for somebody in San Jose that are willing to, they want to do something, and their customers at the new spot on Polk, they said, we want to do it. And I'm going to meet with them on Monday.
What?
I'm hesitating to go because I'm afraid I'm going to say yes.
Well, if you come down here, Sam, and you're in my neck of the woods, you're going to have to let me know. Maybe we can meet up before or after the show. I would love to meet you face to face.
I doubt it, but I'm going to go just to take a look and see what the opportunity is going to be like.
Don't bring your wife, because apparently she's the one that's going to make you say yes. So.
Well, she's going to say yes, but We have a 2 years old baby too, so that even
Oh.
adds to the whole load of
Oh, you
daily
guys have to be
responsibilities.
exhausted. My goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
yeah.
Well, Sam, I mean, I want to show some pictures of the food that you also sent me in. This is called the sweet tooth pancake. Look at that.
Oh my.
Oh
That is one of
my.
my personal creations. I used to make it for myself, and then when we changed the menu a little bit, I was like, you know what, we gotta add it on, and it's been selling really well. So one thing at our restaurant, both of them, we make 90% of the stuff from scratch. So we don't use pancake mixes. We bring the flour, we add all the ingredients, we make the pancake mix in-house. Same thing with the sauces, like the custard filling that we put. So pretty much 90% of our stuff is made in-house. Dressings, sauces,
Nice.
all the mixes. So it definitely, this is an addiction. We were gonna call it the Queen of Munchies, but then we thought it's better to have a family-friendly name. So we called
Everybody. What about look at this. This is the Warriors breakfast. What is all of that?
So the new restaurant got write-ups in few publications, Eater SF and Influation, couple others, and this was one of the focus dishes. So this is not available at the new spot on Polk, but it is at Townsend Branch. We called it the Warriors Breakfast because it is complete and it's a winner. So it definitely fits with the Warriors. And it is a layer of 2 biscuits cut in half with hash browns on top. Then we put the chicken fried steak, which is a beef steak fried like a chicken, gravy on it. Then we put the eggs, then top with the bacon and chives. It's definitely a full meal.
Yeah.
It's really a good meal. I mean,
Oh, that
very
looks
rarely
so
people finish the whole thing. Yeah, very rarely. And
know
it was actually with people were coming in because it was hashtagged at the SF Eater, I think, as it is as mighty as 2015 Klay Thompson. So
I love it.
So all the tags were Klay Thompson. People were coming in as like, we want that Klay Thompson breakfast. I was like, oh, hopefully he will come in one day soon.
You never know. He could. He should. Absolutely. Okay, one more. Look at this burger. Now this, I know I have my non-meat eating fans, people, but look at that burger. That's the bacon barbecue burger.
How do you even fit it in your mouth?
You have to have a big mouth, Kim. I have a big mouth. I could eat that.
You can squeeze. Those onions are so crispy and very soft inside because we make them from scratch. So they're big, jumbo, but when you put the bun on the top, you squeeze it down, it just becomes like a layer of crispy onions on the top. And for the non-meat eaters, we have many vegetarian and vegan options. We do Impossible burgers. We do vegetarian garden burgers. So it could be done, of course, without the bacon, but it could be done with some plant-based substitutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sam, if somebody wants to follow in your footsteps, what advice do you give to people? Because I'm sure people go, Sam, you and your wife have done, you've opened up these restaurants, you've been successful, you survived COVID. What advice do you have for people that want to get into the restaurant business? How do you start and how do you sustain it?
Starting, you got to be very organized, especially in San Francisco. I love the city, but the bureaucracy that goes with the city is insane. I mean, so many things, and with the ABC as well, since we have beer and wine, it's a challenge. So you got to be organized to get everything in order. But most importantly, for the restaurant business, the key word is buying, how you buy your ingredients, because you cannot change your selling price every day. So the power of buying is what really makes it or breaks it for any restaurant, pretty much. And consistency of quality and service. Those are the two main things, service and quality of food. I mean, people want to come eat something good and be treated nicely.
Yeah.
And those are the two magic ingredients for success in the restaurant industry.
Can you talk a little bit about your parklets outside and the bureaucracy that you've had to deal with? They're trying to charge people for parklets, and how long can you keep the parklets, and how, do you as a restaurateur invest in a really nice parklet, knowing that it might not be permanent? What are your thoughts on all that?
I don't have a parklet, so that's side street seating, but it was expanded more. So we had it before the pandemic. It was expanded more because the next building is owned by the same landlady. I got the permit for a parklet. I've never done it. Honestly, you'll be surprised to hear, but I am a restaurant owner that was always against parklets.
Wow. Why?
Because first of all, the city is busy and tight as it is. So parking is a challenge. Sometimes it takes me half an hour to find the parking, and I own a business there. I need to park. I need to run the business. Delivery drivers, the trucks, you see trucks double parked on both sides. So it's very, very, especially when there are bike lanes, it's so dangerous. I mean, it's insane that even they're considering keeping most of them. But I know now, I see some of them are going away. And to be honest, yes, everybody needed the help during pandemic, restaurants. But the government also helped the restaurants so much between the PPP and the RRF and so many loans and grants. So I think now we're asking for too much. I mean, we already got help, we got support. Now things should be back to normal. It's enough. Let's not be greedy. Let's get the boutiques that wait for those cars to park and go see their clothing, or the coffee shop or the dentist or whatever it is. They need those parking spots, especially in a city where really we cannot create more parking. It's tough. So I was one of the people, and even one time on Station X with John Rothman, he was talking about it, and I called, and he said, if you run for the office, I'll vote for you because I like that perspective.
I didn't even realize, I mean, I did think about, the impact for parking and safety and things like that. I know that the city is absolutely gorgeous. What about crime? What about actually operating a business in San Francisco beyond the bureaucracy? I mean, do you think that San Francisco is going to get that luster back, that tourism back that makes businesses like yours successful?
Part of why we decided to close at night is we could not revive the business or sustain the business that we lost pre-pandemic. So there were a lot of small boutique hotels and small hotels on Lombard Street and Venice. One became Art Institute. A couple of them became shelters for the homeless people. One of them closed. Some of them are operating. So we used to get a lot of night tourist business.
Right.
We did not get pretty much 10% of that. We were making it. We were not losing money at night, but that was really what helped us make that decision in closing earlier. But yeah, the tourism, look, in Russian Hill and in Embarcadero, we don't maybe see what people see in Tenderloin or other neighborhoods in San Francisco, but we do. I mean, last week I had somebody that stayed for a couple hours in the restaurant. When I asked him to leave because we're closing, he gave me a deposit slip as a form of payment. And he's convinced that. I was like, you know what, next time you want to eat, tell me, I'll feed you. Just don't fool me. Don't fool me. And the other day outside, a homeless was grabbing a ketchup bottle, drinking from it. I was like, take it and leave. Just don't hang around here. There are people eating. Take the bottle with you and leave. If that's what you want to drink it. But yeah, those are issues that we face on maybe weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes monthly basis. But I know people in Tenderloin, they deal with it on hourly basis, every day. Multiple incidents a day in some cases.
Yeah, that's the big city for you.
Not sustainable though. You can't have a business and entice people, especially new people, in there if that's going on a daily basis. And the Tenderloin, I mean, they obviously have to get it together. You have great spots. I want to show pictures again of your businesses. Again, there's the new spot on Polk. There's the Town's End. Sam, I love talking with you. I appreciate all of the advice that you've given. You write to us. You're a huge supporter of the show. I hope you continue to be. I'd love to get you back on whenever there's a restaurant or a business story, because people are loving you in the comments. You know this community quite well in the comments. And thank you, Sam, for all you do for the show, but honestly, just for creating these businesses that people obviously enjoy so much, and that's why you've had so much success.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really love what you guys are doing. And sometimes I think never regret when something bad happens, because in many cases something better comes out of it, and this is what it is. I really love what you guys are doing. Sometimes I miss turning the radio knob on in the car to hear Nikki and Kim in the morning, but it's okay. I tune on the older shows sometimes till it's 12 o'clock, then I open the live show. Keep it up. You guys are doing great. We're always here to support whatever we can do. And thank you both.
Thank you. And again, if you want to visit Sam's restaurants, I've put the websites in the show notes. So right underneath the description of today's show, you can find it there. Sam, thank you so much. And you have a great day. And thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you. Bye. Bye. How awesome is he?
I am telling you, that pancake, the sweet tooth, I am there. Like, I will drive myself to San Francisco.
Look at that.
To get that thing.
We have to plan
it.
something. We have to. Kim, you come from the North Bay. I'll come from the South Bay. And maybe we'll just we're gonna go to one of Sam's restaurants. We have to go to the Red Jack Saloon.
Yep.
I mean, there's people we got to see. Maybe we'll grab Sherry. We'll make Sherry drive up.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll convince Brett from KCBS to meet us. We'll have a little bit of a reunion. And we'll let you guys know. You guys want to come out? I mean, I'm not picking up the tab or anything, but we can go have food and drinks together. How about that? That'll be a good time. Oh my God. Look at that. I mean, I know, but that breakfast too. Do you like chicken fried steak? I love chicken fried steak. I love chicken fried steak.
Yeah, I would eat that.
I'd eat that with my face. Yes, I would totally eat that with my face. So yeah, that's really good. Again, new spot on Polk. And Townsend, look at that. I mean, they're there in San Francisco, and they're making it. They're making it, people. All right. I mean, I'll let you guys know. We just got to get our butts up there. It's so difficult.
Pick a date.
I know, right? Yeah. I swear to God, you know, running a restaurant especially is so difficult. What do you always hear? The margins are very, very thin, and then you have to deal with all the bureaucracy, like Sam was talking about. But he's making it work. And again, he's part of the Medorable community. He's part of the Nikki Medoro show. And I'm sure he listens to Mark Thompson too. It's just support the restaurant, support everybody in our community. And can you imagine if he was down here too?
The amount of work though, my husband's a really good cook. And as he said, his wife was, but he's kind of more the business end. And I think you need both in that partnership. But I will always say, you know, you should really, to my husband, you should open up a restaurant, or why don't we, you know, there's a great restaurant for sale in town. Why don't we buy this? And you could open up a place. And he's like, do you know how much work that is from morning until night? Like, you would never see me. Never.
Well, that's why Sam made that point. Is like, we're not serving dinner, and they transition, but you know, he works 7 days a week, but you know that you have your nights together. And I'm sure they're still working at night too. I mean, you got to go over, you know, the receipts but at least you know that you're not working that aspect of it anymore. So again, big thanks to Sam. And please visit his restaurants. The websites are in the show notes. Okay. Well, I have a bunch of things I wanted to squeeze in. I saw somebody in the comments. I guess we could touch on it when we get back. For a little bit, the reparations. It's been in Kim's news. We'll touch on it a little bit. There is a whole committee that has released this 500-page report, and I have a little bit sound from a news report that I'll play you from one of the committee members, kind of explaining this. And I know that when you hear the dollar amount per Black San Franciscan, you're like, what? But you know, you got to scratch beneath the surface a little bit more. Not quite sure how I feel about it, but you guys can let me know in the comments. I have a couple of light food news stories to also bring up as we head toward St. Patty's Day. There's a house around the corner from me, like not directly around the corner, but a little ways away, all decked out in Irish flags and signs. I swear, I feel like Christmas, Halloween, it's like every single holiday people are decorating for, and I love it. All right, smash that thumbs up button, and here is Kim with the news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's start talking about the money, because Goldman Sachs is lowering its 2023 economic growth forecast over concerns about the strength of the banking sector. The firm lowering its growth forecast to 1.2%. That is a drop of 0.3 percentage points, and apparently significant as the banking sector continues to provide issues. President Biden laying out his plans to lower prescription drug costs, so we'll keep the money picture up. While speaking to the healthcare professionals in Las Vegas, President Biden highlighted provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act that are starting to take effect now. That includes capping the cost of insulin at $35 for seniors on Medicare. Action must be taken now to avoid a horrible accident in the nation's aviation system. That is the word today. Speaking Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg was the one speaking, and he delivered a speech at the FAA Air Safety Summit after a series of close calls. He said, "We can't wait for the next catastrophic event when we can see the warning signs are here today." The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is doing its part to try to save the Great Lake in Utah. It is donating the equivalent of more than 20,000 acre-feet of water. Governor Spencer Cox said the move will create a real difference to the lake and to the future of Utah as well. An attorney for porn star Stormy Daniels says she met with New York City prosecutors investigating former President Trump over alleged hush money payments. Daniels met with them at the request of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to answer questions related to the investigation. Her lawyer says she has agreed now to make herself available as a witness. Authorities are investigating whether Trump falsified business records in connection to the $130,000 payment he made to Daniels before the 2016 election. The NBA is suspending Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant for 8 games without pay. Morant has been away from the team since earlier this month when he went on Instagram Live displaying a gun at a strip club in Colorado. He also just recently left a counseling program in Florida. Another assault, this one, the son of an incarcerated former reality TV star, Todd Chrisley. I know you love the Chrisleys, Nikki. Not. Arrested in Tennessee, the son. Police say Kyle Chrisley is charged with aggravated assault following an altercation with his supervisor at Penske Truck Rental yesterday. Chrisley is now accused of hitting the supervisor multiple times and threatening to kill him while displaying a fixed blade knife. His bond set at $3,000. This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, check in with Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-STEAL and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. So I know I teased it, the reparations conversation. Yeah. It's a big deal. Now Chris is like, why talk about stuff that won't ever happen? Who doesn't think it's, do you think that no reparations, no nothing, no maybe better loans, no housing, no, you don't think, Chris, or anybody else, that something like that is going to happen? If you don't know, a committee, it's in San Francisco, is meeting, and they've just released, I think it was yesterday, they released a 500-page report, and it's just recommendations. Nothing's happening, right? I think next year they're going to start coming out with some real concrete ideas. I want to thank ABC 10 for this report, talking with one of the committee members, and they were talking about, what exactly is in it, why these San Franciscans will need it. Here we go. Oh, hold on 1 second. I don't think you can hear it. Let's see. Here we go. There we go.
Descendants of slaves, so that we can then go back and say,
500-page report.
This is really about harms to descendants of slaves, so that we can then go back and say, what do we need to reverse those harms?
Harms, for example, like despite California entering the Union in 1850 as a free state, its early state government supported slavery. Some scholars estimate that up to 1,500 enslaved African Americans lived in California in 1852. California did not allow Black men to vote until 1879. The state also passed many of the voter suppression laws that were used in the South. California prohibited individuals convicted of felonies from voting, added a poll tax, and put in place a literacy test. The report also has some some preliminary recommendations for reparations, although a final report due a year from now will detail the steps they'd like state lawmakers to take.
Just giving a community money is not the solution. You have to give them other things to make sure they make their community whole. This is better education, access to capital, being able to close the earnings gap.
So those are just a couple of the things. And now the reason why I played the video in that spot is a lot of people are saying, why should California, kind of lead the way on this reparations? And that's why. Because obviously the minute you say somebody, there's no more slavery, it's not that happened.
Right.
I mean, look all the way to Jim Crow laws, right? I mean, it's not as if the ugly tendrils of slavery are not still being felt and seen today. Now, does that mean $500 million per Black San Franciscan who qualifies, by the way, who qualifies for it? I mean, there's a kind of a qualifications list that they've been floating around and that has been part of the recommendations. But I mean, is it money? Kim, what do you think? If you were on this committee, I mean, what do you think? And of course, I'm not Black. I'm not African American. I don't have descendants from slaves, as far as I know. So I don't have the skin in the game, right? I don't have this ability to be like, this is what my family and my descendants deserve. $5 million. I don't think a check is necessary. I would love 0 interest loans, free college tuition.
Yeah.
Something like that, something in which I can build my own wealth, business loans, small business loans, those sorts of things that, before
advantages that won't break the state or the city, right?
Exactly. Like, give me something that is going to help me better, not just myself, but my community.
Right.
And again, Chris, that's why I played, here we go. That's why I played that clip right there is yes. We were a quote unquote free state, but we still had all of these laws and helped pass all of these laws that were discriminatory and redlining. These things happened in California. So we can't absolve ourselves from it. We just can't.
So there is a state reparations committee for the state of California.
Right.
And then there is also this reparations committee in San Francisco.
Right.
And the San Francisco one is the list of things, I believe, it's $5,000 for every Black San Franciscan that qualifies, right? $97,000 a year guaranteed income for in perpetuity, basically. A free house, or it costs $1 per family in San Francisco, which that's at least $1 million or more in San Francisco. And I think there were some other things as well. It's the story I read said all the things that they want to include in the reparations package would mean that non-Black San Francisco residents would be on the hook to pay $600,000 just to make the reparations happen.
Right.
I just don't think that's financially feasible. So I agree with you in doing other things to give people a leg up, because you can't deny the long effect and the economic impact that systemic racism had. If you don't think it's true, I apologize, but you need to look back and see what happened and what's still holding people down.
Mm-hmm.
And so making those loans interest free. And so giving people a break on education costs, other things that will give them a leg up that we can afford to do and that we can easily do, those things we should be doing off the bat, right off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's also an easier pill to swallow. I think that when you throw out numbers like $5 million, $600,000 for every non-Black family in San Francisco, when you say things like that, that scares people. It's like or it just sounds like, oh, you're not taking this seriously. Like, take it seriously. What are we really going to be able to get past and get people to support?
Slavery was a serious business. It's a huge stain on America. It has caused race relations to be, very tense and violence, and at some points riots to break out. And it's not something that we're over yet. And so how do we get over it? I don't know if a financial reparations package is the answer, but I think showing that you take it seriously and that you understand that that it's a huge deal to people of every color. If I could say Do you deserve a free, $2 million house in San Francisco because your ancestors are slaves? Absolutely. You deserve it and more.
Yeah.
Right? You deserve everything and more.
You
Their
have to convince
ancestors
the
deserve
neighbor,
it all.
like
But can you actually do that and not bankrupt the city and not, screw up our economy? I don't think so.
yeah. I mean, there is the data. There is the data that shows California and how it, even though slavery may have ended, there were policies that imprisoned people more. They denied access to homes with the redlining, business loans, not able to get those. The lack of generational wealth, or stopping that type of generational wealth. And people, I think you don't really quantify how important generational wealth is. It is why people set up trust funds. It is why people buy property. It is
Yeah.
because it lasts, right? And so when you strip that away from a certain group of people because of what's happened in our past, you can't ignore it and then say, well, $5 million is too much. Really? How much did your ancestors, how much wealth was your ancestors and your descendants able to give to you? And sometimes people just don't know where at the starting line they're really standing. And so maybe this is a way of educating them. Now, Black residents in San Francisco once made up more than 13% of the city's population, but more than 50 years later account for less than 6% of the city's residents and 38% of the homeless population. According to this article, the Fillmore district once thrived with Black-owned nightclubs and shops until government redevelopment in the 60s forced out residents. So there's things that happened after the quote unquote end of slavery that, we should possibly pay these people back for. And I think that making excuses on why you don't want to pay these people ignore the fact of why you should.
Right.
And I don't know, but we need to get consensus. I could say to them,
Should and can are two different things.
like there needs to be a consensus. That's why I'm saying, Kim, education, loans, business loans, small business loans, whatever. Give them a house. Somebody was mentioning, what about property taxes if they're not paid?
Right.
Posted. No property taxes. I don't know. I mean,
Whatever.
Talking about a certain segment of the Black population too. It's not everybody, which also opens up a whole another can of worms of, well, what do you mean? Even though I might not have straight descendants, which are hard to trace because of obviously what happened, doesn't mean that I'm not still treated the same way. And it's so freaking complicated. I'm glad I'm not on the committee. They met or have been meeting almost, I think, monthly to discuss this. That's how serious they are taking it. So for people saying, oh, they're just, throwing things out that'll never stick.
Chris,
I feel like something's going to happen.
Chris is confused because California, he says, never had segregation or slavery.
Again, you're ignoring the systems that were in place here, even if we quote unquote did not have slavery. There are the redlining, the lack of loans. Just as I mentioned, you redevelop an area and then the people that were there first can no longer afford it because they can't get the loans. These are the things that people are talking about.
Right. The things that kept the African-American population down.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Again, it's going to be another year, I think the report was saying, before they come forward with any sort of concrete ideas, because these are all just being floated around as part of that 500-page report. The devils are going to be in the details, as they often say. But I think it's hard to make an argument that the history of slavery in this country can't still be felt.
Well, there's going to be a lot of pushback because a lot of people don't understand the history. We saw Chris there. Exactly. A lot of people haven't taken the time to really understand what the economic impact of slavery has been or what discrimination here in California has been either. So I think you really have to understand it, take the time to look into it and learn it. At that point, then make your decision as to whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah. And we could debate it, and Chris, you can make, points that have nothing to do with the conversation, and you are free to do so in the comments. But I'm just saying, let's just take this and take it step by step and see what the committee does. If you're against anything, for any Black person in San Francisco, then obviously the conversation ends right there for you. Okay.
Right.
But if you're open to it and you're open to having a discussion about it, then I think that it takes, some thoughtful consideration of what would it mean to you if you were in somebody's shoes that did not, or your ancestors did not get the same opportunities as other people simply because of the color of your skin. The lady Beatrice writes, African Americans are notorious for being stuck in situations where they're screwed. The reparations would help make better living more accessible. They can use the money for college or housing, possibly. Yeah. Possibly. Okay, so obviously we'll keep an eye on this. We have some time left. I want to throw in some lighter stories before we end the show. And again, please click that thumbs up button if you're liking what you're hearing. Kim, I don't know if I've asked you this before. Do you make your children's lunch every day, or does your husband?
No, as a matter of fact, no. They get. I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but Jacob loves the free lunch provided because of COVID.
Good.
And I feel so bad about it.
Why?
At the beginning of COVID, I'm like, no, don't take that because that's for the kids that can't
going
afford
in the trash.
lunch.
Eat it.
But they're throwing them away, and he loves what they're serving, and so Jacob does the free lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And Julia, she likes a little Starbucks on the way to school. So they usually stop at Starbucks, get a little bagel, and then she has a bagel for lunch. Doesn't eat a lot at school.
No, my daughter doesn't.
That's of concern, but whatever,
My daughter, no, it's not it's a thing. Middle school, they don't eat lunch. I mean, some of my daughter's friends do, but it is. Can I get a funnel and shove just liquid into my daughter? Please, I would love to. But did you see this story about how they're going to start serving Lunchables at school?
Oh, that is like the worst. I mean, kids love them, but they're so like processed yucko.
Well, they're not going to be the same ones that you find in the grocery store, Kim.
Okay.
So apparently, these Lunchables have to meet the National School Lunch Program guidelines.
And they're going to do that.
They're going to change what's actually inside of it. So the recipe has to change with more protein and whole grains and reduced fat, sodium, and an increased serving size. So according to Kraft Heinz, who makes it, the turkey and cheddar option comes in a 3.5-ounce container, includes 2-ounce equivalents of meat or a meat alternative, and 1 ounce of grain. So that meets the whole grain criteria. The pizza, which is not pizza, it's just raw, whatever. 5.05 ounce container. 2 ounce of the meat or meat alternative, 2 ounce of grain, 1/8 of a cup of red or orange vegetables, and meets the whole grain rich criteria. So yeah, they're going to change the Lunchables. See, that's gross to me. That goes in the oven. That needs to go in the oven.
It's not even cooked.
It's not cooked.
And kids just lap it up.
I know, it's so disgusting. Yes, the pizza one is the worst. I mean, and the thing with Lunchables, honestly, Kim, is so my son, back in the day, they picked it up once. And I looked at them and I'm like, I am not paying for packaging. No. I could buy Ritz. I could buy deli meat. I could buy cheese. And I could throw it in a baggie and you can make it yourself. Oh, but it's lunch. No. I've never bought a Lunchable for my kids. I think they're disgusting. I'm not trying to, Lunchables if you want to be a sponsor. But no, they're gross. I don't think I don't think that they're good. And again, it's overpriced because you can make that yourself. You probably have ham or turkey or cheese and crackers at your house right now. Yeah. So,
but the kids, if they see that Lunchables, box,
oh yeah, they lap it up.
Ooh, you got a Lunchable? Ooh.
Yeah. Well, and
your mommy must really love you.
Karen says, why can't they give kids good fresh food? Because they want the kids to eat it. Kids like crackers. Kids like deli meat. And that's why I want my kid to eat something. And if it has to meet certain guidelines with lower sodium, certain serving size, I'm okay. Look at Kim being Judgy McJudger over here. When I see a cart full of Lunchables, I think bad parenting and setting up your kids for bad eating habits for life.
Yeah, it's true.
You can judge all you want.
It's super lazy too, because you don't need to stick anything else in that lunchbox except the Lunchable, and it's like
I haven't made my kids lunch since elementary school. I do not make my kids their lunch. I ask them.
Do they make it?
Dylan sometimes does, or he'll get something at school. He's kind of like Jacob, where if they're giving him free food, he always checks it out. Yeah. Marley doesn't eat, and I was done. I was making kind of a Lunchable: crackers, salami, sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly, all yogurts, all sorts of things. You know what comes back into the lunchbox? The entire freaking thing. And I was like, look, either make it yourself or go hungry. And if that makes me a bad parent, that makes me a bad parent. But I don't buy Lunchables. I do buy goldfish because my son is half goldfish. That's literally like what half of his body weight is goldfish. And I think he's at the door. 1 second.
Oh, Nikki's checking out. Check out this Lunchable, you guys. This is a pizza Lunchable and a treatza. The treatza looks like a cookie with little chocolate treats on the top of the treatza cookie. So, like,
I'm back, and it's a pain in the butt over here. You need to come over here and talk about Lunchables then.
I was talking about this this Lunchable that's a pizza and a treatza with the little, the dessert treatza there, and the Capri Sun, which is full of sugar. This is like the worst thing you could give your kid, and yet it's easy and they love it.
So Dylan, they're going to start serving Lunchables at school. He came in, that's why I had to go.
Hi, Dylan.
So it has less sodium. It's supposed to be healthier. Would you buy a Lunchable? I'm going to show you the picture. Would you buy this, or would you just make it yourself?
I'd rather make it myself.
Right. What about that? Does that look good to you?
No.
See? I'm raising you right. What about that? The little cookie thing. You want the cookie thing.
No, it's just crackers and chocolate.
Thank you. It's crackers and cheese. All right, you're good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Don't pull off my microphone. I just think that if you're going to make lunch for your kids, just make something that they're going to eat, or just wait till they get home. My kid is not going to starve. That's the point. My kid is not going to starve at school. Now, I want him, and he eats breakfast. He wakes up early, Kim, just to have breakfast. My daughter's like, wake me up when I have to.
Yeah.
Dylan's like, you better wake me up early enough because I need to wake up. I need to have my breakfast, all sorts of things. So, yeah. Okay, one more thing. And it's only because we're inching ever so closely to St. Patty's Day. Krispy Kreme. Let's do a quick ad
Green
for those.
donuts.
Yeah, so you can get a free green donut starting tomorrow. So tomorrow's Thursday and Friday. So the 16th and 17th. You just have to walk your booty butt in there just in time for St. Patrick's Day. They also have golden cookies, a rainbow sprinkled cookie, but for St. Patty's Day. Now, speaking of food, do you do the corned beef and cabbage?
My mom does every year, and so
So you like it?
I don't eat the corned beef and cabbage, but I am invited over, and I eat the other things that I like that are served.
What, bread? Carrots? What do you eat?
Irish soda bread, some carrots, some potatoes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I never ever liked cabbage. I ate corned beef until like my husband got me to eat it years ago. Now it's really the only time. But we had corned beef and cabbage not too long ago, so I don't know. Oh, there's the Krispy Kreme ad. Yeah, see, they have the rainbow thing right there.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I'm not a huge Krispy Kreme fan. You know who I'm trying to get on? Also, my friend might have a hookup. One of the people behind Psycho Donuts. Anybody go to Psycho Donuts?
Is
Have you
that
ever
in
been
San
there?
Jose or no? Is that a chain or what?
I don't know. I know they have more than one location, maybe down here. And I want to say there's one in Sacramento, but maybe I'm making that up. But they make these insane Psycho Donuts that have all these sorts of toppings. They're rich. They're delicious. I couldn't eat a whole one to my head. I could probably eat it throughout the day if it's the only thing that I'm eating. But I'm trying to get that person on. My friend has the hookup, and apparently the person's really nice. So maybe we'll do that. Thank you to everyone that came on, and Sam's in the comments. Thank you for having me on. I truly enjoyed the conversation. Love the community.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Stay in touch, especially if you head down this direction at all. Again, you guys, please click the thumbs up button. It helps us out. I don't know. YouTube loves it, so that means that we love it. Tomorrow, we are going to talk with Jefferson Graham. He does the Photo Walks TV.
Cool.
I have a great question. He gives us tips and tricks. I want to talk to him about this Samsung phone photo thing with the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a specific question for him. So get a picture, get a question. You can send them in to me as well. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. And we can ask Jefferson Graham. He's great. He has all the phone technical aspects to him. And check out his show. Subscribe to it. Photo Walks TV. There's the merch website, thenikkimedoroshop.com. Please consider donating to our monthly Patreon. You can find it at thenikkimedoroshow.com. And if you want to get information about sponsorships, maybe sponsor a news segment, sponsor something of our shows, reach out to me. We could talk packages. We could figure out something that works for you and works for the show. The email there, thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, people, Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.